In Silverclaw Pack, weakness was a death sentence. And Elara Winthorn had been branded the weakest wolf ever born. She couldn't shift. Couldn't defend herself. Couldn't even sense pack emotions the way others did. So when the pack needed to cut someone loose to appease the elders, they chose her. They stripped her crest. They broke her family ties. They dragged her to the border and told her never to return. Elara left with nothing, except the echo of humiliation ringing in her chest. But fate was far from done with her. Because somewhere beyond the border, a dormant power stirred inside her. A buried bloodline awakened. A destiny older than the pack itself began to pulse beneath her skin. And the girl they cast out did not die. She rose. 3 years later, Silverclaw Pack trembled as a figure approached their gates, cloaked in moonlight, armed with power that made the earth shiver. Her scent hit the alpha first. His wolf froze. Mate. When she lifted her hood, the pack gasped. It was Elara. No longer the weakling. But the chosen mate of the moon-blessed alpha. And the queen destiny had forged from their cruelty. If you love the ultimate comeback story, where the rejected underdog returns with power, beauty, and a mate bond that shakes the wolves who cast her out, this is your story. Comment, "Weak no more," and subscribe, because Elara's revenge, rise, and romance begin the moment she steps through those gates. Elara Winthorn remembered the night she was exiled with painful clarity. The elders stood in a half-circle, faces carved from stone. The pack gathered behind them, whispering, staring, pitying, or worse, smirking. She stood barefoot in the frost, trembling but silent. Her wolf was so faint she barely felt it. The cold bit at her skin, but she refused to cry. Weak wolves cry. Strong wolves endure. The alpha at the time, Alpha Garon, looked at her with something between disgust and discomfort. "You contribute nothing," he said flatly. "You cannot shift. You cannot run. You cannot fight. Keeping you weakens us all." Elara whispered, "I can learn." "You've had 16 years to learn," Elder Moroth snapped. "Your wolf is defective." The word cut deeper than claws. Defective. Wrong. Broken. Her own mother looked away. Her father's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The pack needed a scapegoat. Elara was convenient. So they stripped her crest. They painted her wrists with exile marks. And they shoved her beyond the border as though pushing away disease. That night, she sobbed only once, just once, before the pain hardened into resolve. She would survive. She would grow stronger. She would become something no pack had ever seen. And one day, she would return. She didn't expect that destiny would help her keep that promise. Because beyond the border, bleeding and alone, her wolf finally spoke. Awaken. Light erupted beneath her skin. Power surged. Ancient. Lunar. Forbidden. Elara collapsed into the grass, shaking violently as her dormant lineage unfurled. She wasn't defective. She was moonbound, a rare bloodline whose wolves awakened late, but with power rivaling the goddess's chosen. Under the full moon, her wolf emerged for the first time, silver-white, radiant, breathtaking. And Elara Winthorn screamed not in agony, but in rebirth. 3 years later, she stood at the edge of Silverclaw territory again, no longer trembling, no longer weak. Her power hummed in the air. Her wolf purred with confidence. Her cloak shimmered with protection magic. And her scent carried something that froze every warrior who inhaled it. The unmistakable signature of a mate bond. With the new alpha. Now she was not returning to beg. She was returning to claim what destiny had always reserved for her. The forest felt different now. 3 years ago, these trees had watched Elara stumble through them, crying, freezing, humiliated, the exile marks still burning on her wrists. She had run until her lungs tore, until she collapsed, until she thought the darkness would swallow her whole. Tonight, they watched her walk with purpose. Slow. Steady. Silent. Moonlight threaded through the branches, illuminating the silver patterns on her cloak, sigils that pulsed with quiet power. The air vibrated around her wolf, no longer faint or fragile but sharp, alert, and strong enough that the wildlife kept its respectful distance. Elara Winthorn was not the same girl they threw away. She paused on a ridge overlooking Silverclaw's main gate. Torches flickered. Warriors patrolled. The familiar scent of pine and smoke drifted on the wind. Her wolf lifted its head proudly. Home. Not quite, Elara thought. But it will be. Her fingers brushed the crescent charm hanging at her throat, a moon-bound relic gifted by the priestess who had taken her in after her first shift. The charm hummed faintly at her touch, warming her skin. You're sure? Elara murmured. Her wolf growled with certainty. Chosen. Marked. Meant. Elara exhaled slowly. 3 years ago, she wouldn't have believed any of this. She had been a barely shifted orphan who thought the moon had abandoned her. Now she carried a power most wolves only whispered about. Moonbound. Wolves of prophecy. Wolves chosen by the moon. Wolves who awakened only after heartbreak deep enough to shatter the soul. And her heartbreak had been more than enough. Elara stepped off the ridge. With every stride toward the pack gates, the mate bond tugged stronger, like an invisible thread pulling her forward. Warm. Electric. Inevitable. She knew who waited at the end of that thread. Alpha Kale Draven. Son of the former Alpha. Warrior forged in fear and fire. The wolf feared by enemies and revered by allies. Silverclaw's strongest alpha in generations. And destiny, damn destiny, had tied him to her. She didn't know whether to laugh, scream, or let her knees buckle in disbelief. But she kept walking. The perimeter guards scented her before they saw her. Elara Winthorn, one shouted, voice cracking. A second warrior stumbled backward in shock. Impossible. She's dead, she must be dead. Her wolf was defective, how is she walking? Elara stopped just a few feet from the gate. She lifted her hood. Gasps tore through the guards. Gone was the skinny, trembling girl they had thrown out like spoiled meat. In her place stood a woman with clear eyes, radiant posture, and an aura so potent the warriors flinched instinctively. She's glowing, one whispered. Elara smiled faintly. Moonlight has that effect. The youngest guard, barely older than she had been during her exile, swallowed nervously. We have orders, to attack any exiled wolf who returns. Elara tilted her head. Do I look like I'm here to attack? The guard stared at her, long silver hair, luminous eyes, steady breath, and shook his head. No. But orders. Change, Elara interrupted softly. Call your alpha. The guards hesitated. Until her scent hit them fully. Not her moonbound aura. Not her power. Her bond signature. Warriors stepped back in instant recognition. Oh moon, one whispered. She's the alpha's mate. Elara's heartbeat faltered at the words, but she didn't show it. The guard closest to the gate turned and ran toward the pack grounds. I'll fetch Alpha Kale. Elara waited calmly, hands folded. Her wolf paced with restless excitement. Moments later, the ground trembled. A growl, deep, resonant, powerful, rolled across the clearing. Warriors stiffened. A horse reared in the training yard. Wolves nearby lowered their heads. Kale Draven appeared at the top of the slope, 6'4", shoulders broad as an oak, dark hair tousled from training, eyes glowing an ethereal silver that made the moon itself dim. When he saw her, everything stopped. The wind. The gods. The world. His wolf slammed against him with a force that made his breath catch. Mate. Ilara lifted her chin. Kale's eyes widened, disbelief flashing across his face. Then anger. Then something rawer, deeper, hungrier. He strode down the slope without looking away. Each step radiated authority, and something else. Recognition. Shock. Want. Ilara's pulse raced. But she didn't move. And when he reached her, when he finally stood just inches away, Kale stared at her as if she were a ghost risen from ashes. Ilara, he whispered hoarsely. It's really you. His voice vibrated through her bones. Her wolf pressed eagerly against her ribs. But Ilara stayed perfectly still, refusing to flinch. Refusing to let old wounds reopen so easily. Hello, Alpha, she said quietly. Kale sucked in a sharp breath. Don't call me that. Why not? Because you're he broke off abruptly, jaw tightening. Where have you been? We thought you were dead. She echoed coldly. Kale closed his eyes briefly, guilt flickering across his expression. Ilara, we didn't know. You were gone. No trace. No scent. We searched. No, she interrupted. You didn't. Kale swallowed. I wanted to. Yet you didn't, she repeated, voice steady but aching beneath. You let them cast me out. You let them call me defective. You stood there while they humiliated me. Kale flinched, and the mighty Alpha actually lowered his head. I was not Alpha then, he said quietly. But that changes nothing. I should have fought for you. Ilara's heart twisted painfully. Her wolf whimpered softly. But she didn't let emotions cloud her purpose. She stepped closer, just enough that their bond flared between them, electric and undeniable. Kale's breath hitched. His fingers twitched, aching to touch her. His wolf howled inside him. Ilara, he whispered, voice rough with longing. You feel like mine. Ilara met his gaze without blinking. Do I? She murmured. Kale exhaled shakily. Yes. Goddess, yes. Her expression softened, then hardened. Good, she said calmly, because I didn't come back to beg for acceptance. Kale blinked. What did you come for? Ilara's aura flared, silver, radiant, commanding. I came to claim the place destiny reserved for me. Kale stared in stunned silence. And what place is that? He asked quietly. Ilara smiled, a slow, powerful smile. Beside the Alpha, she said. As your fated queen. The guards gasped. Kale's wolf roared inside him. And the mate bond snapped fully awake, blazing between them like wildfire. Ilara Winthorn was back. Not as the pack's weakest, but as the Alpha's chosen. Silence hung heavy in the air, thick, stunned, electric. Kale Draven stared at Ilara as if the moon had dropped her at his feet. And in a way, it had. She waited calmly, her silver aura shimmering faintly beneath the rising moon. Guards exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to bow or run. No one moved, not even the wind dared to interrupt the moment. Finally, Kale spoke. You came back for the throne. Ilara arched a brow. No. I came back for what's mine by fate. The throne is optional. The warriors actually flinched. Kale blinked as if she'd slapped him. You speak boldly. I speak truth, Ilara replied coolly. Kale's jaw clenched. His wolf growled low, reverberating through the air. Not in anger. Not in threat. In recognition. He stepped closer, too close, crowding her space with the heat of his body and the scent that once made her knees weak, cedar, smoke, and something darker, uniquely him. Ilara, he murmured, I remembered you as quiet. Gentle. Fragile. She smiled faintly. Then your memory is broken. A rumble tore from Cale's chest before he could stop it, an involuntary sound of appreciation. Goddess. He was in trouble. Where have you been? Cale asked, voice low, raw. For 3 years, Ilara lifted a hand, stopping him. You don't get to ask that yet. Cale inhaled sharply. Yet. When you earn it, she said simply. His wolf clawed at his ribs, eager, desperate, starving. Guilt flashed across Cale's features as he studied her face. The girl who once wouldn't meet anyone's gaze now stood taller than half his warriors, glowing with power, confidence, strength. What happened to you? He whispered. Life, Ilara said. And your wolf? Awakened. Cale swallowed hard, silver eyes widening. How awakened? Ilara stepped closer until their breath mingled, until Cale forgot how to breathe. Enough to break your gate wards, she whispered. Enough to silence your elders. Enough to crush anyone who tries to exile me again. Cale's heart hammered. Ilara. But strong enough, she continued, softer now, to stand beside you, if you choose me. Cale's eyes trembled. If I choose you, he repeated, voice nearly breaking. Ilara Winthorn, my wolf has been screaming your name since the night you stepped inside our territory. Her wolf howled inside her, triumphant. But she didn't let him off so easily. You let them exile me, she said quietly. You stood by. Cale closed his eyes, shame flickering across his face. I was the Alpha's son, not Alpha. I had no authority. No voice. Then you should have used your will, she replied. Cale stiffened. You're right. Shock flickered through her. She expected denial. Excuses. Defensiveness. Instead, Cale looked her directly in the eyes. I should have fought for you, he said quietly. I should have stopped them. I should have stood between you and every wolf who said you were weak. Ilara felt something crack inside her, something old, painful, scarred. Cale's voice thickened. And if the moon gives me a second chance, his gaze softened, breaking through every wall she'd built. I will fight the entire world before I lose you again. Her heart thudded. But she turned away before it could sway her fully. Fine words, she murmured. But words aren't enough. The pack doesn't want me back. Cale stepped behind her. Not touching, never touching without permission, but close enough she felt the heat of him. Ilara, he said softly, I am Alpha now. She froze. And what the Alpha wants, he continued, the pack obeys. She turned sharply. Do you want me? Cale's wolf surged forward, nearly shifting through his skin. More than I want breath, he whispered. But I will not claim a mate who hasn't chosen me. Ilara exhaled shakily. This was not the boy who once stood by silently. This was the Alpha fate had carved from the ashes of her suffering. A shout erupted from the gates. Ilara Winthorn. The elders stormed into the clearing. Elder Moroth, the same wolf who had spat, defective, at her, stumbled backward when he saw her face. It cannot be, he croaked. You survived. Ilara smiled without warmth. Disappointed. The elder trembled. You were supposed to die. Cale snarled. Watch your tongue, Moroth. But Moroth wasn't looking at the Alpha. He was staring at the glow radiating from Ilara's skin. You're moonbound, he whispered, horrified. The prophecy wolf, the one who will either rise or ruin the pack. Ilara crossed her arms. Tempting to choose ruin, for you personally. Moroth scurried behind the other elders. Cale. You must reject her. She's unstable, dangerous. Cale didn't even let him finish. Say one more word, he growled, and I will tear out your throat myself. Silence fell. Ilara blinked. Kale stepped to her side, not in front of her, not shielding her, but standing as her equal. Elders, Kale said coldly. You cast her out illegally. You branded her without proof or trial. And now destiny has brought her back as my mate. Gasps rippled through the group. Morotha's voice cracked. Impossible. There must be a mistake. Kale bared his teeth. The only mistake was ever believing she was weak. Ilara's heart twisted. Kale turned to her, voice lowering. Ilara Winthorn, would you stand beside me? Her breath stalled. Don't answer yet, Kale added quickly. Not until you've seen everything this pack has become. Not until you decide if you can forgive what was done to you. His restraint shook her more than any aggressive claim could have. I will not force your choice, he said. But wolves will challenge you. Test you. Some will reject you. Ilara lifted her chin. I don't care, she said simply. Let them. Silver fire flickered through Kale's eyes. Ilara. She stepped closer, just a fraction, drawn by something deep and ancient. You want me to stand beside you, she murmured. Then show me what kind of alpha you've become. Kale inhaled sharply. Come, he said softly. He extended his hand. Not demanding. Not claiming. Offering. Ilara stared at it. Then at the pack that once broke her. Then she placed her hand in his. Kale's breath hitched. Ilara's wolf purred. And the pack watched, stunned, as their former weakling returned not as prey, but as the alpha's chosen queen. The walk into the heart of Silverclaw pack felt like stepping through a ghost of her past. Every path, every cottage, every training yard, familiar and foreign all at once. Wolves paused mid-task as Ilara and Kale approached, their expressions twisting through disbelief, awe, suspicion, and fear. A child tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mommy, who's that glowing lady? The mother dragged her child away. Stay back. She's dangerous. Ilara's chest tightened, but she kept walking. Kale shot the woman a warning glare. The mother lowered her head instantly, trembling. Yet even Kale's authority couldn't erase the sting. They feared her. They feared what she had become. Her wolf nudged her gently. Let them fear. Fear keeps enemies cautious. But Ilara didn't want to be feared. Not here. Not in the place she once called home. Kale walked beside her, not touching, but always close, like a barrier that shifted with her steps. His presence steadied her heartbeat, though she tried not to let him know it. They passed the training grounds. Warriors sparred in the center until one spotted them and froze. Alpha Kale. Incoming threat. Ilara lifted a brow. A threat? She hadn't even flexed her aura. Kale raised a hand. Stand down. The warriors hesitated, until Ilara's scent reached them. Their wolves reacted instantly. Mate, one stammered. Kale's wolf surged proudly through his chest. Yes. My fated mate. A murmur rippled through the crowd. But she was exiled. She was the weakest. She couldn't shift, right? How is she glowing? Is she dangerous to the alpha? She can't rule us. Ilara's jaw tightened. Kale's power snapped outward like a whip. Enough. Every warrior dropped to their knees under the weight of his dominance. Kale's voice dripped with ice. Speak another word against her and you answer to me. Silence fell. Ilara should have felt vindicated. Instead, she felt something unexpected. Sadness. Until Kale leaned in, his voice low, meant only for her. Don't bend to their doubts, he murmured. Make them bend to your truth. Her breath hitched. Goddess, why did his words always find the cracks in her armor? They reached the council hall at the top of the slope. Its stone doors loomed tall and heavy, carved with ancient runes. Ilara hesitated. The last time she stood here, the elders had waited inside to strip her of everything. Kel noticed her pause. Ilara, he said softly, you don't walk into that room as a weakling anymore. She steadied her breath. I walk in as what, then? She asked. Kale's gaze burned, bright as moonfire. As the wolf the goddess chose for me. Her heart fluttered, traitorous, hopeful. He pushed the doors open. Inside, the elders turned sharply. Moroth was the first to speak, face pale. Alpha, this is madness. She cannot return. She is in exile. Kale stepped forward, his aura dark and dangerous. Then your exile decree is null. I overrule it. You can't. Moroth snapped. She carries moonbound power, ancient, unpredictable. Wolves like her cause wars. Ilara lifted her chin. Then perhaps you shouldn't have thrown one of your strongest wolves into the wild. Morotha's face twisted. You were weak. We saved resources by removing you. You condemned a child because she shifted late, Ilara replied. Because you feared what you didn't understand. Another elder stood, Elder Risa, the only one who had looked pained the night of Ilara's exile. Her eyes softened. Ilara, forgive us. We acted in fear. Ilara blinked. Kale looked shocked too. But Moroth cut in. Fear was justified. Moonbound wolves are rare for a reason. They can topple entire packs. Ilara took a step forward, silver aura rising gently, not threatening, but powerful enough to make the torches tremble. I did not come back to topple anything, she said. But I won't apologize for surviving your cruelty. Moroth huffed. And what? You expect us to simply accept you as future queen? Kale growled. She is my mate. Moroth sneered. And how do we know that bond didn't come from her, manipulating you? Ilara stiffened. Kale's wolf nearly ripped free. Say that again. Moroth spread his hands. Moonbound wolves can mimic bonds. Bend instincts. Create illusions of fated ties. Ilara's stomach dropped. That's a lie. Is it? Moroth asked coldly. Prove it. Let her undergo the trial of truth. Gasps erupted. Elder Risa paled. That trial hasn't been used in a century. It's dangerous, it could kill her. That is quite the point, Moroth said coldly. If she survives, she is the rightful mate. If she dies, we are rid of a threat. Kale slammed his fist onto the table, splintering wood. I will not subject her to. Ilara placed a hand on his arm. He froze. She stepped forward, voice calm. I accept the trial. Kale spun toward her. Ilara, no. She met his gaze steadily. This pack exiled me because I was weak. I will not return under a cloud of doubt. If the trial proves me unworthy, then so be it. But I know who I am now. Kale's chest heaved. His wolf howled with terror at the thought of losing her. Ilara, he whispered harshly, that trial forces your wolf to reveal your essence. It can break your mind. Your spirit. It nearly killed the last wolf who attempted it. Then it won't kill me, she said. His hands trembled at his sides. Ilara, please. Her heart twisted at the fear in his voice. But she held firm. I cannot be queen if the pack fears me. Let them see the truth. Silence choked the room. Moroth smirked, believing he had cornered her. Kale closed his eyes in pain, then opened them with a resolve that shook the rafters. If she takes the trial, he said, I take it with her. Moroth sputtered. What? That is not allowed. Kale's aura exploded through the hall. I am Alpha. If she walks through fire, I walk with her. Ilara's breath caught. Her wolf pressed against her ribs, melting. He would suffer with us. He would bleed with us. He would face death beside us. Kale turned to her, voice low and fierce. If the trial reveals your true essence, he said, then it will reveal mine as well. Ilara's throat tightened. Not even destiny had prepared her for this. The Alpha she once believed would never see her was now ready to die, proving she was his. Her knees nearly gave out. Kale, she whispered. He cupped her face gently, reverently. I will not let you face this alone. Her wolf surrendered instantly. So did her heart. For the first time since her exile, Ilara felt something bloom inside her. Hope. Outside, the pack gathered as word spread of the coming trial. Warriors whispered. Children peeked out from windows. Lunar flowers bloomed violently under the rising moon. And Ilara stood at Kale's side. Not as the weakling they had cast out, but as the wolf fate was about to reveal to them all. The trial of truth was older than any living wolf, older than Silverclaw, older than the throne, older even than the first pack laws. It was said the moon goddess herself created it to reveal the soul of a wolf with perfect clarity. No illusions. No lies. No masks. Only truth. The trial circle lay at the edge of Silverclaw territory, carved into a cliff facing the open sky. Runes glowed faintly along the stone floor, arranged in a spiral of silver symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Ilara approached with Kale beside her, his aura hard and cold as forged steel. If fear twisted inside him, he showed none of it. But she could feel it in the mate bond, deep, silent, suffocating. He feared losing her more than he feared death. The pack gathered in a wide ring. Some looked curious, some uneasy, but many, far too many, looked eager to see her fail. Moroth stood near the front, arms clasped smugly. Let the trial begin, he announced. Ilara stepped forward without waiting for Kale's signal. Runes along the ground brightened under her feet. Kale immediately moved with her. Moroth sputtered. Kale. You cannot. I already told you, Kale growled, she will not face this alone. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ilara swallowed. Kale, the trial is dangerous enough for one. If both of us. My decision stands, he said softly. If your truth is bound to mine, let the goddess see it. Her heart trembled. She nodded. Together, they stepped into the center of the runic circle. The moon broke through the clouds, bathing them in cold silver light. Moroth lifted the ceremonial staff. By ancient decree, the trial begins. He struck the ground. Light erupted like lightning. A shockwave blasted outward, throwing dust and sparks into the air. Kale grabbed Ilara's hand, instinctively, protectively, and she felt the bond between them snap taut like a live wire. Her wolf howled. Kale's wolf answered. Then everything went white. Ilara found herself standing in a vast, moonlit plain. No pack. No cliff. No Kale. Just endless, shimmering silver stretching to the horizon. Her heartbeat sped. Hello. A soft voice answered, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. Child of mine. Ilara's breath caught. Moon goddess. The air shimmered, and a figure formed, tall, radiant, with eyes like galaxies and hair like falling starlight. You have walked a hard path, the goddess said gently. But you are not here to recount suffering. You are here to face yourself. The ground rippled. A second figure stepped forward. Ilara. But not as she was now. As she had been the day of her exile, small, trembling, fragile, tears streaking down her face. Ilara's chest constricted. Why show me this, she whispered. Because you still fear her, the goddess said. You fear she still lives inside you. Ilara's throat tightened. She does. Then face her. Ilara walked slowly toward her past self. The girl flinched. I'm not here to hurt you, Ilara murmured. The girl shook her head. Why did you abandon me? Why did you leave me alone in the dark? Ilara's breath broke. I didn't know how to protect you. Liar, the girl whispered. You hated me. You hated being weak. Tears burned behind Ilara's eyes. No, she said firmly. I hated that they broke us. I hated that I had no strength to stop them. But I never hated you. You are the reason I survived. The girl looked up, eyes shimmering. Ilara extended her hand. Come, she whispered. Let's be whole again. The girl hesitated, then placed her tiny hand in Ilara's. Light flared. Their two forms merged. Warmth flooded Ilara's chest, and she felt something inside her settle, a wound finally closing. The goddess smiled softly. Good. Now face the second truth. The world shifted again. This time, Kale appeared, standing across from her, expression raw with torment. Ilara, he breathed. I couldn't find you. I failed you. A blade materialized in his hand, silver and gleaming. Ilara froze. Kale lifted it to his own chest. What? Before she could move, he drove the blade toward himself. No, she screamed. The world shattered. And she landed back in the runic circle, gasping. Kale was beside her, clutching his chest, struggling to breathe. Ilara grabbed him. Kale! Kale, look at me. He was pale. Drenched in sweat. His wolf roared inside him, fighting something unseen. Your trial, he choked. It made me face losing you. Tears stung her eyes. I saw it too. I can't, his voice broke. I can't survive another moment without you. The runes flared again, brighter than before. Ilara, he whispered. Do you choose me? The moment trembled in her hands. She could end the bond. She could claim independence. She could walk away from the pack forever. But she thought of the little girl she'd just reclaimed. She thought of the alpha who would bleed beside her. She thought of destiny, aching, fierce, undeniable. Her voice emerged steady, powerful. Yes, she said. I choose you, Kale Draven. Kale's breath shattered. The trial responded instantly. Light exploded outward, engulfing them both. Then funneled inward, sealing around their chests. The mate bond ignited fully for the first time, power surging through both wolves like wildfire. Silver and black flames spiraled around them, merging, twisting, entwining. Their wolves howled, one fierce and ancient, one radiant and awakening. The runes dimmed. The light faded. Silence fell. Then, the goddess's voice whispered through the wind. Truth revealed. Bond affirmed. Soul chosen. Kel collapsed to his knees. Ilara fell with him, catching his face in her hands. When their eyes met, the world stilled. You're mine, Kel whispered, voice shaking. And you're mine, she breathed. Their foreheads touched. Their wolves settled. And every wolf watching knew. Ilara Winthorn was no longer the weakling they rejected. She was their future queen. The world steadied slowly, first breath, then heartbeat, then sight. When Ilara and Kel finally rose from the stone floor of the runic circle, the pack stood frozen around them. Warriors, elders, mothers, scouts, every wolf stared wide-eyed, stunned speechless. Because the truth was unmistakable. Silver light still pulsed beneath Ilara's skin, her moonbound power now fully awakened, balanced, rooted, whole. And Kale's aura, dark and commanding, wrapped protectively around her like a second cloak. They stood not as two wolves, but as a unified force. A chosen pair. A bonded Alpha and Luna. A truth no elder could deny. Ilara squeezed Kale's hand. His fingers tightened around hers, steady, warm, reverent. Then the murmurs began. She survived the trial. She walked out glowing. The goddess herself accepted their bond. Moon, save us, she's powerful. She can lead us. It's her. She's the prophecy wolf. Moroth pushed through the crowd, face pale with disbelief. This is impossible, he stammered. No wolf survives a truth trial with their mind intact. You must be hiding something. Ilara lifted her chin. Why does my survival frighten you so much? Morotha's eye twitched. Because wolves like you are unpredictable. You could destroy this pack. Or heal it, she countered. The crowd fell silent. Kale stepped forward, voice like thunder. Elder Moroth, you orchestrated her exile. You lied to the pack about her wolf. You branded a child defective to hide your own fear. Gasps erupted. Moroth sputtered. Alpha, I acted in the pack's best interest. No, Kale growled. You acted in your interest. You feared the rise of a wolf who could see through your manipulations. You feared her potential. Kale's aura surged, pinning Moroth to the ground. The elder dropped to his knees, choking on air. Ilara placed a gentle hand on Kale's arm. Enough, she said quietly. Let him breathe. Kale hesitated, his protective instincts screaming to do more, but he listened and withdrew his dominance. Moroth gasped, collapsing fully. Ilara stepped forward, looking down at the wolf who once condemned her to die. You wanted truth, she said. Here it is. Her aura flared, powerful, steady, majestic, and the entire pack felt it humming through their bones. I am moonbound. A late shifter. A prophecy wolf. You exiled me because you thought I was weak. But the moon does not choose weak wolves for destiny. Moroth trembled. And you feared me because you knew, she continued, that one day I would return stronger. She paused, letting her words sink in. But I didn't come back for vengeance. I came back because this pack is my home, and because your alpha is my mate. Kale's breath caught. His wolf exhaled something like relief. Ilara turned to the crowd. If any wolf doubts me, step forward now. Silence. Wind brushed the grass. A raven called somewhere in the trees. No one moved. Instead, warriors bowed their heads one by one. Elders lowered their gazes. Mothers clutched their children closer, not in fear, but in reverence. Even the forest felt still. Ilara's wolf sat proudly in her chest. They see us. Kale stepped beside her, his voice ringing across the clearing. Silverclaw pack, he declared. By trial and goddess decree, I present your true Luna. The wolves bowed deeper. But Ilara wasn't finished. Before I accept the title, she said, I want to speak. Kale looked at her in surprise but nodded. Ilara stepped forward, her voice strong but warm. 3 years ago, you cast out a child who couldn't shift. That decision nearly killed me. But it also awakened me. Whispers moved through the crowd. I do not ask you to forget what you did. I ask you to remember what it cost. Fear makes wolves cruel. But strength makes wolves wiser. Her gaze softened, sweeping across the faces. I stand here not to punish you but to lead with truth, justice, and compassion. If you accept me, then know this, I will protect you. I will fight for you. I will make Silverclaw stronger than it has ever been. But you will not treat another wolf the way you treated me. The pack bowed deeper still. Even Moroth lowered his head, trembling. Kale approached her slowly, eyes bright with pride, awe, and something deeper. Elara Winthorn, he said softly for only her to hear, you were born to lead. She swallowed hard, heart swelling. And you, she whispered, were born to stand beside me. He reached for her hand. This time, she took it without hesitation. Then speak the vow, Kale murmured. Elara turned to the pack once more. Moonlight bathed her in silver fire. I vow to serve this pack, she declared. To guard it. To guide it. To grow it. As Luna, not because of a birthright, but because of destiny. Kale's voice joined hers, deeper, resonant. I vow to honor the bond we share. To rule with strength, fairness, and devotion. And to stand beside my Luna, my mate, through war, peace, darkness, and dawn. Their wolves howled in unison. And the bond sealed completely. A burst of silver-black energy swirled around them, engulfing the clearing. Every wolf felt it, felt the connection, the unity, the surge of power linking Alpha and Luna as one. The goddess's voice whispered across the wind. Balance restored. Destiny fulfilled. Kale leaned closer, breath warm against her ear. Elara, his voice trembled. You are everything I never knew I needed. She smiled. And you are everything I never believed I deserved. He kissed her, not fiercely, not possessively, but deeply, reverently, as though claiming a miracle. The pack howled its approval. Elara's heart soared. She was home. She was whole. And she was no longer the weakling they rejected. But the queen destiny had carved from their cruelty. The girl they cast out in shame returned as the queen they would follow into legend.